Albert Lewin was a once-a-generation polymath and aesthete. Like Terence Davies, he saw in film the potential for a depth and timeless artistry found in ancient literature, romantic poetry, and impressionistic painting. His early successes revealed a courageousness with thorny subjects, unfilmable novels, and a willingness to bend Hollywood standards to let in his Harvard-educated, jaundiced eye.
In this book, Strickland appeared as a perfect husband and a model parent. The young man even quoted a letter his father had written referring to his wife as an excellent woman. But I happen to have seen the whole letter, and what Strickland really wrote was, "Blast my wife, she's an excellent woman. I wish she was in hell."
Not for nothing did Susan Fellerman call her biography of Lewin a Botticelli in Hollywood. After his military service ended, he seemed to float through life, befriending Irving Thalberg, becoming his assistant and confidant, then stepping into his role as producer when Thalberg died. He was directing a few short years later. Pandora and the Flying Dutchman should have paved the way for him to become legendary the way only a few directors have. Instead, it forced him into supplication. Directing adventure films, forced to hide his talent behind the tawdry and superficially thrilling. Of course, Sadia and The Living Idol are both incredible, and more importantly, cinematic, for their trifling quality. Because no one as gifted as Lewin could help but make great movies. It's just what he did. Pandora and the Flying Dutchman, the ill-starred fourth film, is to my mind the greatest film no one else thinks is great.
There's something beyond my understanding, something mystical in the feeling I have for you. I feel as if I'd loved you always, not only in this life, but in lives I've lived before and do not remember. It's as if everything that happened before I met you didn't happen to me at all, but to someone else. And in a way, that's true. I've changed so since I've known you. I'm not cruel and hateful as I used to be, hurting people because I was so unhappy myself.
An orphan in a great storm of time, scratching to be let into the canon of masterpieces. It is staggeringly lovely. Shot in Technicolor by the format's poet laureate, Jack Cardiff. Designed in part by Man Ray, starring James Mason and Ava Gardner at the height of their respective beauty. Shot on Spanish and Welsh beaches, and stuffed to its gills with doomed romance. It's simply the most gorgeous piece of depressing prose the screen ever saw.
It was to this face that I had yearned in the endless hours of the night watch. It was to her that I'd returned at last, my hands and pockets full of earrings and necklaces and circlets for her delicate arms, souvenirs of strange lands to beguile and delight her. How I adored her pleasure in my gifts. And to have found her faithless. It was incredible. And yet I could not doubt it. My mind was a hive of swarming gadflies whose stings were my remorseless thoughts, visions of her unchastity, mad, shameful, bestial imaginings. There was no cure for this but the knife. With one bloody blow, I killed all that I loved on God's earth.
Halt! Johnson, open the door!
It was still her face. So pure. How could it be so pure? It was not a man, but a walking emptiness that they led away to dungeons and courtrooms. And when my judgment was pronounced and the magistrate asked me whether I had anything to say, I found words to speak so vain, so extravagant, so mad. Such fateful words. The evil is done and cannot be undone. This bloody death I still shall do, and do again 10,000 times before I hang tomorrow.
I wish to live inside this movie like a house. Ava Gardner is one of those gorgeous gorgons of the cinema who makes men die for her.
If I were to ask you, Stephen, would you push your car off this cliff into the sea?
Yes?
Do it, Stephen. When do you want to marry me, Stephen?
She agrees to marry her most besotted suitor the same night she feels the strange pull of a yacht docked off the coast from her hillside mansion. She decides, against her better judgment, to the chagrin of her new fiancé, to swim out and meet the man on the boat. He is James Mason, and it turns out he's the living incarnation of the legend of the Flying Dutchman. They become ensnared in one another, snagged by fate at the feet. Pandora needs a man who won't give up a thing for her, but who knows she is the only thing worth living for. A man with nothing but his life to give her. The Dutchman has a curse to break, and only she can break it. But where myth meets reality is usually where graves are dug.
Hello.
The dressing room is to your right. You'll find towels there.
Few films of this vintage capture the insanity of heedless love and lust, where they meet, where they must end. Are the things we'll regret forever if we don't try, and the things we regret right away are separated by seconds. Romantic obsession is a decadent madness, a curse, the reason to be alive and die. The film overflows with Lewin's showy classical reference points. A movie constructed entirely from pieces of the Sistine Chapel. A movie dispossessed of narrative. A feature-length longueur to which every honeymoon of a movie owes a debt. Pandora and the Flying Dutchman made a little money and a little splash. It should have shook the earth and changed its face forever. Cinema unburdened by reality or motivation, a journey through Lewin's earthbound obsessions and historical precedents. A film that knows that Ava Gardner herself is cinema. This is a dream from which, if I had my way, I would never wake.
It's as if we were under a spell, outside of time.